Do any of you guys follow those motivational self-help style channels? You know, the ones that tell you how to build good habits, save money, meal prep, and just generally live your best life. I follow so many of these channels, and have they helped me improve my life? No. I don't mean to suggest that I have a problem with these channels. I'm sure lots of people benefit from them, and some of their general ideas do stick with me over time. But as for the specific suggestions, they just don't become a part of my everyday life. Bullet journals and productivity apps aren't my style, and yet I've still had multiple classmates and coworkers say to me, "You're so organized," and "You're really good at staying on top of things." And even, "What scheduling app do you use?" So since people are apparently itching to know, let's talk about how I do time management. I'll start with my primary way of organizing my schedule. Yep, it's just my brain. Honestly, the bulk of my scheduling, my to-do list, all that stuff, it's here. I really don't write any of it down, I just keep it in my brain. I feel like this is weird to some people, but mentally organizing stuff just runs in my family. Well, my mom's side of the family. No offense, Dad.
All around me are familiar faces.
If something happens at the same time and day each week, I just sort of mentally file it away. For me personally, I never saw the purpose of writing down every single class and meeting when those aspects of my schedule don't change from week to week. So I just mentally store my unchanging base schedule. And then when something extra comes up, an extra meeting, a schedule change, game night with friends, I just sort of yeet that activity into its respective day. I don't even really think too hard about it. I just tell myself, okay, on Friday you have your base schedule plus 2 to 3 hours of extra stuff. And then as that day gets closer, I sort them into their respective time slots. So yeah, that's chaotic, and I'll admit it doesn't always work. So when I plan stuff more than a week or two in advance, I have to write it down somewhere, and that somewhere is Google Docs. So let's look at sort of my system for organizing my life. So here we have all my Google Docs. I use Google Docs for pretty much anything related to my work. So this stuff is all related to classes. We're not gonna go through that, it's boring. But this is what I want to talk about. ZZZ notes. People always think it's funny that I call my notes document ZZZ because it sounds like, you know, like ZZZ. I called it that because I hate when Google thinks it's like really smart and it knows what you want to Google, when really I'm just trying to find something fast. I picked ZZZ because, like, if I type NO, it's gonna give me my Twitter notifications, a recipe that was for no-knead focaccia bread. I can't just type 2 letters and get to the document that I want. I love ZZ because it's like, oh, ZZ top, and I'm like, no, and I just hit the up arrow. And this will always be my most used ZZ thing. There's never gonna be something else that uses that letter combination. And in here, I have a bunch of sections. I actually, like, as ridiculous as I think it is that I use Google Docs to do time management, I'm proud of the way it looks. I spent a lot of time, like, not a lot, but you know, I spent an hour one day using tables. So basically this is just a table and I filled it with colors that I thought were kind of pretty, and then I have like no border. You know, there's nothing wrong with this, but like that way it doesn't look like this. But anyway, I have 4 or 5 sections on here that have to do with different aspects of my life. So at the very top is where I put kind of the most pressing things, the ones that I always want to see. You know, just the things that are maybe not consistent from week to week, so I need to see them occasionally. Like once a day, maybe I'll be like, okay, open your notes document and make sure you're not forgetting anything. Then after these like really pressing things, I have things that I just kind of don't want to forget that I want to do. So I want to make some more space on my computer by zipping files. If anyone knows how to actually get that to work, like, please let me know. I've tried zipping files and they still take up the same amount of space. Something related to some research that I'm doing, some announcements that I need to give to different students, other research related stuff. So these are things that are more, they either don't have deadlines or the deadlines are just like really far in the future. So they're still up here so that I don't forget about them, but they're not nearly as pressing, so they don't go at the top of the to-do list. Then I have a section for the tutoring that I do because it doesn't feel like it falls into teaching. In fact, now I actually wound up creating a whole folder for tutoring now that I've been doing it for like 2 years. Maybe at this point, this can kind of move into the tutoring folder. But at first, I didn't have enough materials to justify it or anything. So I just shoved it in the notes document too because it's easy to access. I have a section for stuff related to my work. It's just kind of like ideas that I have, apps that might be fun to use in class. Normally at the end of each semester, I like my students to reflect on the class, and sometimes I'll write down interesting things that students said from a reflection. And then when I go back to teach that class again, I'll look back on the advice that my students gave me. It's just, again, it's stuff that maybe isn't pressing. It's not like email the student tomorrow, but it's just things that I don't want to forget. A little section about Inkling. This is another one that probably could go away. Inkling is the linguistics channel that I've been working on, and now, again, I have a whole separate document for Inkling. So this once was just a little nub on my notes document. Now it can kind of go be its own thing and flourish. You'll also notice that I don't have a section for YouTube. That's because I have so many video ideas, and I like to put my scripts in there and stuff like that, so they also have their own document. And lastly, another section that it's really not that pressing. It's just sort of, I couldn't really think of anywhere else to put it in my current organization system. And that's just personal notes, links and brands and things that I find out through YouTube and through friends that I just don't want to forget about. Nice words from students. That's so that one day I can add them to like my teaching portfolio or something, and you know, student testimonials or whatever. And lastly, just again, some other links that I don't want to forget about. This is from a sign language course that I took for one day, and then it started conflicting with my schedule, unfortunately. So this was the homework that they gave us for day one, and I left it here so I could come back and find these resources. So this is this is it. This is how I organize things. Like I said, I do have other documents for more specific things, so I can go into more detail without taking up a ton of space on this document. But when it comes to just like, what do you do each day of the week, what's coming up this week or next week, this is how I do it. Now, as chaotic and ridiculous as this video has been, I do have some tips that help this system work for me by keeping my mind generally clear. You've probably heard the phrase clean as you go, and I personally have taken that phrase and amplified it by like 200%. I clean while I'm cooking, never let trash sit on my desk, fold the laundry the same day that I do it. I know, easier said than done, but my mentality is I'm gonna have to put it up eventually, so I may as well do it now. And this just gives me so much mental clarity. Like, I never have to schedule an hour or two on the weekends to clean because everything's already clean, except my stove. And this also ties back to the chaos thing, because if I ever need to remember to do something, all I have to do is put it slightly out of place and I'll remember. Why did I leave this book on the bed? Oh, I need to reshelve it. Why is my laptop downstairs? Oh, I need to upload that Zoom recording. Why is this dog toy here? Oh yeah, I need to sew it. So yeah, basically because I'm organized, I use disorganization as a hint to get things done. It also helps me to have a bit of a morning and nighttime routine, but again, this is not at all like the full-fledged things that you will see on other people's channels. Here are the things that I do every morning. Take dogs outside, feed dogs, make bed, brush teeth, put on clothes that aren't pajamas. That's it. Some days I wear makeup, and most days that I'm not super busy, I try to work out, but as for the routine, those are the only things that are consistent. Then at night, I take dogs outside, put up dirty dishes, brush teeth, put on pajamas, read, watch Star Trek. That's really all I do. Nothing about skincare, no reflecting on the day or whatever. I just keep it pretty basic. But the idea of having some kind of routine does help me get into the mindset of getting ready for the day or getting ready to go to sleep. Excuse me, buddy. Can you move? Scooch. Thank you. Excuse me. Good job. So what am I trying to say? Basically, I wanted to share a time management system that isn't picture perfect like the ones you usually see on YouTube. You don't need a cute planner or a fancy skincare routine or whatever productivity app to live a fulfilling and productive life. I mean, think about it. These YouTubers who share their organization systems all work in the industry and have schedules that vary widely from day to day. My life isn't like that. What works for them and me isn't necessarily going to work for you. So I just thought I'd throw this out there and say, you do you. As long as you're getting your work done and you feel happy and content, who cares? Sure, from an outside perspective, I don't have a typical perfectly organized life, but all things considered, I think my life is pretty put together. Oh, dang it. Both sides are stained. Let's get a different blue towel, no one has to know. I don't have a picture perfect life. Also me. Let's get a different blue towel.